Hey everyone, my name is Timmy Gobbles, and I thought I'd kind of go through a little devlog. I've always kind of wanted to make games, and so I found a good place to start was this website that gives you a challenge to do like 20 games as kind of small bite-sized projects. So first bit is going to be making the art. I need to make a background. And so I'm going to start with that. And I wanted the clouds. I wanted like a nice like sky, sun, and some clouds, just really basic. No real objects in the background or anything. I'm not really great at art, but and I'm also not good at GIMP. I used GIMP to make the assets, the visual assets for this game. I didn't really do any of the audio myself. So I'm trying to use a gradient tool to get a nice, like the bottom of the skyline is a little bit brighter than when you're looking right up there. And I also need a sun. So I'm going to try to use the gradient tool and some of the built-in gradients in GIMP to make kind of a sun object. Now here I kind of stumble around trying to figure out how to crop a circle, which is a little bit embarrassing, but I'm new to GIMP, so you can't blame me too much. Right, so now my sun looks pretty faded, and here I'm trying to look up how to crop out a circle and doing my best to figure it out. There we go, I've got it. And I got my sun in place, I got my sky, and now I just need some clouds. And I'm trying to go through and see if there's anything built in that I can do to emulate clouds. So I kind of figure I've got this texture, and I'm gonna set the softness make it pretty soft and with a big radius and make some like nice gray clouds. Now I was hoping that I could do some tiling in GIMP, but I couldn't really figure that out too good either. My goal was to make a repeating pattern that's half the width of the screen. And I kind of get it working, but as you'll see later, I really should have gone the full width. Because now you have this pattern repeated twice. I was hoping it would flip it left, right. There's probably a way to do that, but just in the scope of the project, it wasn't something I was too focused on. All right, so there are my clouds and my sky, and I do some exporting. And now it's time to make the pipes. So pipes are a tall rectangle, and I use a gradient, and I make them green because, Mario Brothers. And I want the rounded edges, so I'm going to use the cropping tool with a rounded rectangle to make a nice green gradient rounded rectangle. And the top of the pipe always is a little fatter than the rest of the pipe, so I just kind of copy and paste the pipe sideways on top. All right, next we need our character, so I'm going to get some art of a pig with wings. Now, the story behind this is when I used to play League of Legends, one of my friends, his character name was either Flappy Pig or Floppy Pig. And this project just kind of reminded me of him because when the Flappy Bird game was removed from the App Store, a lot of people would ask him in game if his name was a reference to that, even though he was I don't know if maybe he was Floppy Pig, who knows. Anyways, so it's got some wings, and we all know wings move when things fly. So I'm gonna make a couple poses and export them. And all right, we need a ground, which is just gonna be a brown gradient. All right, so now with some art in mind, it's time to set up the basic scenes. We'll need a main scene, a player scene, a pipe scene, and probably some kind of heads-up display to keep score. So first I'm going to work on the main scene. I was hoping to get a parallax background working where the clouds would move slower than the pipes. And in hindsight, I could have just set those as different values instead of playing with parallax background and parallax layer. But that's not always how it goes. So here we're just setting up the ground and the sky background. And now I'm going to start working on that pipe. So the pipe is going to have one coming from below and one coming from above with a space centered between them. And so I had to do a little bit of scale flipping to make sure that the gradients were matching. All right, so here I'm kind of like making sure it fits in the scene, the main scene. All right, and it's time to make our flying pig. So here we have a animated sprite 2D. So that's going to play it flying and floating. And we also have a capsule collision to detect when we hit objects and whatnot. Here I'm probably trying to look up how to fix the parallax thing. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it needs a camera to get the parallax to work. I forgot what the issue was. I think I didn't have one of the settings on right. Or there was some checkbox that I missed. Had to do with scaling or something. Maybe it was a region. Maybe I didn't have a region on. All right, so I've got my clouds in the parallax layers. There's going to be 2 layers on the parallax. There's going to be the sky and the sun as the backdrop, and then there's going to be the clouds layered on top. And the sky with the sun part we don't really want to move, but we want the clouds to move. Frantically trying every setting to try to get it to work. And let's see. So I went back into GIMP and I made it double wide because it wasn't loading quite right. All right, so for our pipe, we want the pipes to move to the left. That's why our character is off center, because I want the player to have more information before they have to react to it. If I had the character directly in the center, then kind of like the back half of the screen is wasted. All right, trying to figure out whether I want move and slide or move and collide. I went with move and slide. We're never really going to be sliding. And then for the animation, if the velocity is positive, then I want it to be tilted up a little bit and flapping. And if it's negative, then I want it to be tilted forward a little bit and gliding. Woo! And so Y is negative in Godot, and it is in most engines. So I messed up there and forgot to negate my values. A rookie mistake. Okay, so now I want to work on the HUD, the HUD a little bit. So it needs basically a score label and then a message label. The message label is to tell you to start a new game, and then the score label just keeps track of each pipe that passes you. And in that HUD, we need logic for incrementing the score, changing the score, changing the message, hiding either of those. Because the score label at the top and the message could be redundant. If it's game over and I'm saying congratulations, you scored 31, I don't also need 31 at the top. I'm not quite sure when I put that in, but it gets there eventually. And I kind of wanted to gray out the screen, but I got lazy and didn't feel like figuring it out. So there you go. All right, here we go. So if there's a new game, we want to tell players to press start. And we want to start a new game when the game starts. So we're going to put in ready, we're going to call new game. I'm also trying to figure out how pausing nodes works. Not everything we want to be paused. Like, we still want to get inputs from the player, but we still want world to function when the game's paused. And I think later on I have the pipes still function when they're paused to allow them to come off the screen when the game ends. Those are all things I have to set. You can set the process inside of the Properties tab to reflect what's pausable and what's not. You can even have it to where some things only function when it is paused. Like if you had an exit menu, you'd probably that's only work when the game is paused. So when the pipe is past a certain distance, I'm assuming that it's past the player. So then I'm going to increment my score by 1. Okay, so here I want to set up spawning the pipe. Signals are really helpful for having different scenes talk to each other, and you can connect signals in the editor and also in code. Okay, so here we want to spawn the pipe out of view, and then we want it to spawn with a random height. Like if every pipe spawns with the same height, it's gonna be kind of boring. There we go. So now they're spawning at different heights, which gives the player like a little more, I don't know to say to look forward to. This game is super basic. And so I probably need to adjust that random range that they spawn into. I know when I was playing the finished product, there were a couple situations where I don't think it was possible to win or to continue playing, because you get pipes that are too different, too far apart in their Ys. So then you either can't fall or ascend high enough to avoid the next obstacle. And when the pipes go off screen, I set up a timer on them so that they will eventually get rid of themselves. I don't even know why I'm looking at this. Oh yeah, so I was trying to get it so the clouds weren't moving while the game was paused, and that eventually did not work. So I just didn't worry about it anymore. Because they'd stop moving when it's paused, but when you start again, the clouds would like jump to the left really quick. Okay, so we need a signal when the game ends to tell other objects how to react to that. So I'm connecting, when the game ends, I want all the pipes from that game to go away. So I need to connect that signal to a function in those pipes. I also don't want the pipes to move left if the game is paused. Or just spawn pipes while the game is paused. That would be kind of annoying if, you lose the game and you already lose the next game because a bunch of pipes spawn and you start the game inside of a pipe. I have all these like little debugging messages printing in the dialog box there at the bottom. And I don't know that I took any of those out. So I'm sure they're fine because, they probably don't take up a lot of resources, but it's funny that I'm just constantly saying ouch when anyone tries it out. Okay, so this is kind of funny. I threw one onto the scene, and then I couldn't figure out why 2 of them were spawning at the beginning. It's because I had one off screen, just on the scene, and I had to get rid of it. So we want to get the player rotating right. What's really confusing is that in the editor, rotation is in degrees, but in the code, rotation is in radians. And sometimes it's not completely consistent. So you have to convert your rotations into radians if you want to do it inside some code. All right, so it's time to work on the juice. So I need sound effects, some tweening, and maybe some particle effects when the game's over. So I needed some free sound effects because I'm not a sound wizard. So I found the site that just kind of generates them. I need a sound for when you score, when you crash, and when you flap your wings, when you do a jump. So I kind of generate those. I wasn't recording during this part, so you can't hear all the bits, but it's all sped up, so it sounds stupid anyways. But you'll get to hear them at the end if you're patient. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so then I would never had dealt with the sound stuff before, so I get a little lost here, and I wasn't really sure how to do this with one audio stream player, so I just ended up making 3 for the 3 sound effects, and that's probably lazy, but you know, it's what I did, so deal with it. And so I need to hook up when they play. So the player needs the jump one because it's the one that jumps. The world doesn't jump. And you know, that way, like when I'm hitting menus and stuff, it's not going to make the jump sound. And then so I need some music. I thought Space Jabs from Incomtech was pretty good, so just throw that in there. And what's next? Tweens. Okay, so I was thinking, you know, the pipes coming in from off screen is kind of lame. I thought it'd be cool if they kind of like smush together to form the hazard. And then maybe when you hit them, they like fall off the screen. And when you avoid them completely, they kind of like drift away from stuff. So I'm going to set up those tweens. So the way tween works is it's kind of like an animator. It's going to do specific instructions and then just kind of go away when it's done. So you have to create a tween and then you have to tell it what to do. So I make a new variable, I call it a tween, and then I need to add it to the node. I thought I was supposed to add it to the tree, but I found that adding it to the node itself on the pipe worked, whereas adding it to the tree didn't. So there's probably some kind of like path I wasn't putting in correctly. So I want to change the pipe position, and specifically I want to change the sprite's position, because if I move each of the sprites, I get kind of what I want. But when I move the whole pipe itself, like it's going to move all those components together. Oh, here I'm kind of like fumbling with the angles and stuff. All right, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, I got a little lost on what I was doing. Another thing with the tweens is they do things consecutively unless you tell them to work in parallel. So sometimes you need to make more than one. So like if I want to move the top sprite and the bottom sprite of the pipe, then I need a tween for, I can either have that tween work parallel, which means I can't queue tasks after. Like say the pipe is running off the screen and I want it to go away and I want to use the tween to get it to go away so it doesn't go away too soon. Then I can't have it running parallel because it's going to do all of its tasks in parallel, including the queue free, which is what gets rid of it. So in that case, I'm going to need 2 tweens. 2 of them working in parallel, but doing their tasks consecutively. So I do a lot of fiddling here with those. Another cool thing with the tween is you can choose easing. So if you want it to come out hard and fast, but then slow down when it gets to its endpoint, you want to ease out. And if you want it to gradually start moving and, you know, finish strong, then you're going to want to ease in. And they have a lot of easing options. So there's I think I ended up using bounce for one of them. Quad is nice just because it's smoother than linear, right? Because you get a little bit of jerky motion. I didn't want like super heavy math functions in there. So I use quad when I want something smooth, and I used the fancy ones, like I think is it bounce and spring? Those are the two that I was playing with. All right, it's time for some sprinkles. I never used the little sprinkle maker before, so this was all new to me. And I really get caught up trying to figure out how to get the colors to work, right? Because there's this gradient thing, but when you add a gradient, it always adds it in grayscale. And I had to kind of stumble upon a tutorial where if you go into the raw data, you can change the 2 points on your gradient's color. But yeah, otherwise, like I just wanted like rainbow sprinkles shooting around the screen, right? And I kind of want them to come up and fall down, so you can play with the gravity and the velocity and the angle and the spread and all that. But I really had trouble trying to figure the colors out. Eventually I got there. So, you know, that's part of the learning process, right? I figured I had to add another node. And so I think what I should have done was I should have added more nodes to the gradient and make it really focus on those primary colors or the more vibrant ones, because there were some like muddy kind of poop brown greens in there that aren't that great. But, you know, I think it's good enough for what it is. Look at that. Look at those sprinkles. Look at them go. Big confetti. All right, and I need to tell the sprinkles when to go off. So I ended up attaching that to the end game function in world. All right, next is we need to make that score screen go away when we have a message, and the message go away when like we're playing the game and stuff. I think I already had that working. All right, here we go. Here is the quote unquote finished product. Look at it go. Wong. Wong. Listen to those beautiful sounds. Soothing music. One thing I'm gonna have to do is not use this. Oh no, I do have it off. Okay, cool. And there we go. The nice crash noise and the sprinkles are coming up and it looks great. What is left? It's time to upload it so everyone can play the wonderful game I made. So part of that is I needed to import the export presets, and I wanted it for HTML so you could play it in browser. It's like really annoying to have to download a game to play it on itch. It's nice to just play it in the browser. I never really uploaded a game on Twitch before, so that was a little experience in and of itself. All that junk out, and there we go. You can find my game if you look up Timmy Gobbles on itch.io, or I will leave a link in my description, I suppose. Look at the tweening. Look at all the tweens do their things. Look at the clouds spawn. That was one thing I should have fixed, was made the cloud sprite a little bigger. There we go. It's over.